Well, good day, everyone. So I'm trying to learn Greek, and I've got a few friends who would like to learn Greek. So that's what these shows are about. Trying to learn how to read it, read the letters, trying to learn at least some pronunciation, and trying to understand some of the words. We're working on that as well. So there's two tools. One is eSword, reading the Greek there. Oh, there's koinonia. Excellent. Koinonia, or koinonia. Skotos, there's darkness. Photi, light. Pros, I would think means for, but here it has the meaning of with. Dikaios sunai, anomia, righteous and lawless. Dikaios sunai, justified, righteous really, and lawless. Metoche, of course it helps that I read this passage earlier in English. Symphonesis, where we get our word symphony. Christo, prosbelial, or Belial. Atis meris. Pisto, that's related to faith or faithfulness. Meta apistu, faithless. Believers and unbelievers. Sugkata thesis. Nao. Theu meta idolone. Idolatry or idols. So Theu is God. Umiska naos. Theu este zontos. Kathos. Epen ho theos oti or hoti en oikaiso en autois kai emperipataiso. Yep, lots of words I still don't know. Laos. So that's one tool, but to be able to start reading this, here's the other tool. That I've developed, and so you need to know the Greek alphabet, the look of the letters, and some idea of how to pronounce them. So capital and lowercase. Mostly in reading the Bible, you'll be looking at the lowercase. So if you want to scan your eye down these bolded letters, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, Omicron, P, Hro. So the R sound actually looks like our P, and their P sound, P, looks, well, if you know pi, that's a strange way to draw it. Yes, usually it has the let's see if Times New Roman, that's a bit better. I'll change it to Times New Roman. There we go. Now we've got a little better look at how it looks. Rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, that's the guttural, phi, chi, psi, omega, or omega. And then here again with the sound that it makes, how it sounds on its own, and then the Greek name for it in English letters. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. And I could write that as KH, P. So if you're interested in this, be there in a second. Excellent. Report. Sorry, just got spammers in the chat. I've got to fix that. And then once you've started learning those letters, if you can print out the alphabet and start getting familiar with the letters, then you can start reading the Bible in Greek, start learning some of the words. And probably the easiest way to start that is with John. So the first verse of John, in arche ein hologos, kai hologos ein proston theon, kai theos ein hologos. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the God. So I'm doing word for word at the moment. I have to say the beginning for that one, so 2 words for that one. Was the Word, and the Word was with the God, and God was the Word. In context, what it is saying is both God and the Word existed at the same time. They shared an existence. So the Word was with God, but the Word also is God, and God is the Word. Well, you can do it backwards. You can start with learning words and learn the letters later. I'm starting to learn the names of the letters because I guess I should know their names. There are other ways to learn Greek as well. Nicholas is creating an English helps, I guess we could call it, for understanding the Greek words. So And let's keep reading. Utos ein en arche proston theon. Panta di autu egeneto kai chorus. I need to keep still working on my guttural. Still haven't got it perfectly. Autu egeneto uda en ho gegonen. Chorus. Sometimes that comes easily, sometimes not so easily. Oh, didn't send out an email. Let me send out the email. Copy, and let's put it in there. Paste. So pin that link and put it in the email as well, with the YouTube link. And send that off. And there's Nicholas and Kevin. Oops. G'day.
So did you both try to put me in at the same time, I guess?
Within a second of each other. Yep.
And I wanted to share something about Greek details relating to Jesus being in the beginning, if I may. And then it also is going to share my project a little bit, but not too much. Okay, it's on the screen. Nice. Okay, so this word for was, this is where I put the more like the standard English that people expect already. So you can see I put the beginning here instead of first. But I still didn't put was because I think there's actually an important point here. That which is referring to Jesus, such had been being off of first. And so that means off of first, at that first, he had been being. You see how that's different than if he was off of first. He could have been created at the first or something. But actually at the first, he had been being. So this is what's nice about the specificity of the Greek. And this might be one of the reasons that the church has for so long been so confident about this aspect of Christology, is because the language in the Greek is very explicit on this point. So I wanted to share that. I thought it was on topic with what you shared at the moment. And you can see those are the three English columns, and then there would be Greek above them, Graham, for our discussion from earlier.
Yep. And we can look at that in so that's 1 John chapter 1.
And I was also curious what the guttural sound you were going for was. Was that the kairos?
This one, the chi, archais.
Archais. Yeah, so it's like ich, like from German.
Yes,
So
like the guttural in German or Scottish. Loch.
that's a pretty good one because I think that's different than the guttural in Hebrew.
And Kairos, that would be. But, if you're struggling to say that and you just say Kairos, well, then there's going to be two Greek letters saying the same sound. But
I think if you just
we're
kind of
learning.
over force the K sound, so arc case, I think that
Yeah,
does it. If I just overforce the K a little bit, arc case. I don't know.
yeah,
But maybe I don't know how it actually sounded back in the day. You know,
yeah, yes.
we'll need to get a really old phonograph.
Yep. So, ho ein ap archais, ho akai akagowa men. I don't know that forms a diphthong. Probably. Amen. Sorry. Oh, rakamen. Actually, this is harder than than the Gospel of
Oh,
John.
you went to First John. I'm like, this
Yeah,
is all so familiar. Yeah,
yeah.
ha is that which, and ain is had been being.
Had been being. Yep.
App is the same as appa, ah, which is off.
Off.
Our
Yep.
case is first. Ha
Yep.
is that which. Akikoamin is I think first comes which we have heard. So akikoamin would be heard. Or and I'm mispronouncing that a little bit. Ake kaamin. Yeah, because I don't think that's a diphthong because I think the diphthong would be AU, right? Or is it UA? But you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah. I use a diphthong.
Yeah, and I OU is, but I don't think OA is. So I think you're having all these words right. You're doing well as far as I can tell.
Yep. And then toys. So that one's a diphthong. Pretty much the same as in English. The OI sound here is the same with the Omicron iota oi.
And that's the masculine to them, the.
And then ophthalmos,
Which is the dative
seeing.
of eyes.
Yep, seeing. Amon ho ethe asametha. And I assume that's a variation of meta, is it? Or am I
I don't
jumping?
know if there's a relation there because it's a
Right.
suffix, so word ending.
Hmm. So
So let me
maybe
see
not.
what word that is. Um, as, oh, is that we did spectate? Probably not. It's probably they did stroke.
Yeah, that'll be that one. Oh no, this one's stroke, I think.
Okay, so
Um,
then the eyes of us, that which.
I have seen. Oh, that could be spectate. Yep. Uh,
Oh, okay, so it is. So
I
it's
don't
the
know.
middle. It's the middle first person plural that gives it that metha, whereas the other ones, which are men, are they're not the middle voice, but they're still the first person plural.
Oh yeah, men. Yep. And then chirus, hand. So there'll still be which our hands have handled or stroked. Peri
Yeah, and
to
that word for handled or stroked, there's no word exactly like it in English, but it can refer to rubbing or massaging or playing an instrument. So it's kind of related to words like strum and pluck. And
right.
but yeah, so everything considered, I thought stroke was the most literal translation into English for that one.
Yep. And then we've got word here. Um, so sometimes word is logos. Here it's logu, because Greek has different endings for words depending on what they're doing in the sentence.
Yeah, so this part is the masculine genitive, which I learned after I made, the really colorful grammarians tool version,
Oh,
where I
yep.
could. So
Genitive. So it's the source of something.
the masculine genitive. So it's about, well, it's not actually source in this case because it's about of the statement. Oh, and then we have the taste,
The life.
zoes, which
Zoes.
is, so it's of
Word of
him,
life.
the state about of him, the statement of her, the life.
Yeah.
So the oo and oo is masculine genitive, and the ace and ace is feminine genitive.
Oh, yeah, same
But it's
endings.
about the word of life is about the word of the life. I really like to have the in there
Mm.
because taste means of her the is all the information it has. Feminine, genitive, definite article.
Do you want to have a shot at the next verse, Kevin?
I suppose. Verse 2.
Yep.
So Kai, Ain,
Yeah, we haven't done that letter very often.
is that an O?
The second letter is the long O, yep, omega.
Soy?
Well, one moment. Can I also ask you, Graham? Is the AI a diphthong, or I think actually it's not because I think
Yeah.
the ei does the I sound, right? So it's actually kai is that or kai is actually Am I wrong on that, or is that more
So
accurate?
some people say that it's I, the I sound, so Kai,
But
and other
the
people say that it's key.
but the well, an I is an E sound, and then the ei is the I sound, right?
Yeah, there's argument about that.
Okay, good to
And
know.
I don't know how to resolve it. Different people say different things, so it depends what school you're in as to which one you go with,
Yeah, I'll be looking
which is
into
annoying.
pronunciation someday, and maybe I can help sort it out. But
Mm,
I'm starting with meaning. But okay, I'll back up and let you guys do your thing.
yep. So we've been going with Kai A, Zoe, those three words. But yeah, there are people that say that it's key A, Zoe, and then there's other people that say that the eta is pronounced E. So it's yeah, and I don't know how to resolve that.
And then the Z sound in Greek has more of like a D to it, right? So it's Zoe. Like it's almost a bit harder. So rather than Zoe, it's like Zoe.
Yeah,
So,
so you can get into that. We're starting a bit easier with just going. Let's just call it Z or Z. You guys call it. So just going with the Z. But yeah, I've
yeah.
heard that a lot. That it's a Z
And we should
sound.
for this we should get in the habit of using the proper name. So it's actually a zeta. Okay, got it.
Yeah, zeta, omega, eta.
Yeah, I'm just starting to learn the names now that the letters mean something to me, that I know the letters pretty well using them. Now I can give them names. So I was just poking fun in the comments when I talked about doing it backwards. But
Yeah.
I will get out of the way though. So okay.
Kevin, you want to have a go at that one?
I suppose. Okay. So let's. That's not the sideways W. I think that is a E sound on that one.
The short E, the E.
Yeah. And then that's the.
This
That's a
one's a fun
thigh.
one. I just want to say, as far as pronouncing them, this one's a fun one, so you should enjoy it.
That's the psi, right? Second letter.
No, that's the fee. So
I see
F,
why you would think that. I remember the psi is as in Poseidon, and it looks like a pitchfork, right? So
Yeah.
that helps to remember. Or does the little one look like a pitchfork? No, the little one.
do we have a there? That's your psi.
Oh, my
And I would argue that looks more like a pitchfork.
Well,
So if that helps you.
yeah.
Wait, but I'm actually looking at an infographic that's different than that.
No. Well, the psi. Well, this. So this isn't the psi up here in verse 1.
That one's the psi that I've got highlighted in blue. This one that's in the yellow that I've now highlighted in blue is the phi or phi.
I wonder if we're both looking at the same infographic. That I'm looking at an infographic right now that has that labeled as psi, and I don't know if it's straight up totally incorrect or if there's different eras. But
Are you
Kevin,
able to share it?
yeah, I'll show you what I'm looking at, because I'm pretty sure it might just be an error. I'm not sure what's going on here. But
Well, I've seen them drawn different ways as well. So sometimes, depending on how it's drawn, it can be confusing.
I mean, this one doesn't even have a theta in this alphabet, and it has no psi that looks like what we would expect a psi to look like. You see, we have,
see, that's the psi. Yeah.
but it's not. It's the theta.
No, it's not.
The psi looks more like a pitchfork. Theta is the right name for this, right? Is there a theta and a theta, or am I here? Let me look at this one.
No, theta's up the top row. The second last one on the top row.
No,
I
that's
think
that's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the F sound.
It's phi. So that's back
phi.
to
My mistake. Phi.
Yeah.
So the phi should be next to the pi, right? Because the p, because it is actually what we could call the pi is p, which is interesting because we call it a p today.
So the only mistake that I see on here is that's another way to draw phi, where they've put the psi.
And then the psi is totally missing.
Yeah. So it should be that open. That U shape with the line drawn down it. What they've drawn there is another way to draw the phi.
So I should look for an infographic that hopefully doesn't have mistakes.
Yeah, that definitely looks like a mistake to me. I've never.
But then we could have one that has that right and has a mistake somewhere else. I'm almost inclined just to stick with this and learn the mistakes on it and not bother. But I'll let you guys get back to work right now. So maybe that answers where the confusion's coming from. But yeah, the psi is actually the one that looks like a pitchfork, and this is a phi.
So if this works, I'll put in the private chat the document that I've created. Because I've been studying this for, 30 or 40 years, but just letters. Like I've tried to learn a few words, but I haven't got much past that.
Okay, I don't have access right away at the moment, but maybe I just am not signed in properly or something. So I'll check it out later.
I'll email it to you.
Okay, so I'll let you guys get back to it, but just clearing up that point.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where it gets messy when you've got information out there and you go, yeah, I'm not sure that's correct. Keep C.
Well, we're here to have each other's backs. That's why we have a team.
You know what I think they've done? The lowercase phi, the uppercase phi they've put in phi, and the lowercase phi they've put in psi. I think that's what they've done.
On my list, it didn't show the uppercase.
No, but the symbol that they've drawn, that's the difference between the two. Is the uppercase one looks less like running writing, that it's a circle and then a stroke through it. and the lowercase one looks more like it's a single line that you start the line at the bottom, draw it up into a P looking thing, and then keep that circle going around so that it's a continuous stroke.
Yeah, I mean,
Whereas,
I think that's there's the lowercase can be drawn with a less continuous look. Also, there's two looks to the lowercase phi, but neither of them are the C. So I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, they've definitely put a phi looking thing in the C position, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, if I remember right, there's two different lowercase versions of phi, or maybe I'm thinking of the uppercase.
So I'm just sending you my document. And there's 2 pages to it. The first page is just a list of letters with words that that letter starts with, and then a list of list with the sound and the name in English.
I think I was just thinking of the uppercase now that I'm looking at the document from the email.
We've got Alec and CJ and Charles.
Yeah, and I want to welcome Charles. I also I want Kevin to get to finish the word, though. He's on a fun
Thanks,
word.
brother.
Oh, Charles is in the stream as well. G'day, Charles. I thought Charles was just in the... All right, back to this word.
I don't know if it's too much to ask, but if you can think out loud some, that might be productive for the audience and that sort of thing.
Oh, thanks for putting me on the spot.
Well, like I said, if it's too much to ask, you don't have to. I'm just putting it out there.
So, all right. So, the first 4 letters is a fin or a fan.
Yeah, effin.
Yep. And I do not know how to pronounce the end. I know that it's the end. It's a th with the ain. I do not know how to pronounce the p looking thing with the w.
So that's the R, the row. So you got F and so O, Thay. Ephemerothe.
See, I told you it's a fun one.
So that one's the theta, and then you've got the eta, which is one of the tricky ones to figure out because you're looking at it going, that looks like an N. Yeah, and that's also another one that's tricky because it looks like a P.
Yeah, I've learned that the one that looks like a P is an R, and because the pi is the P, that's pretty easy to remember. But the eta, or is there an H sound in there? Well, what I think of it as is a form of H, and H has an A sound to it, so the A, or hey, goes with it looking like an H. So that's how I keep track of that one.
That's one way to do it. Yeah, that's a bit of a long word to chop off in one chew, but you did well, Kevin, breaking it down into the bits and working on what you do remember.
And speaking of breaking it into bits, may I say it in bits? Because
Yep.
it's like this: F N R O they. And
Yep.
the air maybe sounded like an A sound a bit much. That's just my accent, I guess. But I knew what I was trying to say, you know. So F N R O they. Ethanarothe. I have a lot of practice on it, but I like that one.
So then we got Eorak Amen. Eorakamen. I don't think that one's a diphthong, is it, Charles?
No, it's not.
Yep. Eorakamen.
There's a rough breather on that one though.
Oh, Eorakamen. Yep.
So
Yeah, we haven't
what-
got to that yet. We're just sticking with
well, what Graham's using lacks the breathing markers, right? So for us who are learning, it would be hard to use
Yeah.
this one for that.
Yeah, I figured it'd be more confusing to add in, because I do have that, but it'd be more confusing to work with all of those. Where is it? So this one's got all of those marks and symbols, but
So if it doesn't have breathing markers, or is that telling us to save our breath?
that's right. We're not up to that yet. Hey, Kevin, there's enough to learn with what just the 24 letters on their own without all of these diacriticals and all this other stuff.
Yep. Because, I mean, honestly, I still haven't completely memorized the entire alphabet either. There's still certain letters I confuse, and there's others I forget the sound they make, too.
Well, the more vocabulary words you learn, the more of the alphabet you'll know.
Yeah, it does take time to learn another language. And yeah, we just got to keep plugging away at it. And there's, I think, little things like this when you see words that, so I'm going to work on this word here a little bit now. For me, it helps knowing that I know the meaning of a word or have some idea of the meaning. So that you've got here marturumen, marturumen. So it's where we get our word martyr there, and martyr for us means someone who has been killed for the faith, but originally the word meant a witness, someone who was testifying of what they had seen, basically. And that's how John is using it here. And then in this one, I'm seeing, well, basically angel, but which means messenger. So angelomen, but it's got an app in front of it. So I guess, Nicholas,
app
that'd
is
be to message off or off message.
Yeah, and from my research, I think herald is a very good translation. There's some theory that the etymology is related to ago, but I'm pretty skeptical of that because it seems that there's a Persian word for a herald, and then that seems to have created an AGG root. So it's not like it's not actually from Greek source, but it became a root, and then they used it as a root and structured all these Greek words around it. So yeah, so I would say that it means herald, and these are all different forms of the word herald, as far as I can tell.
And
a herald being an envoy or a messenger of sorts, but the type of the connotation, I think herald seems to me to be the best fit.
This is another little trick that I want to remind people when you've got a double gamma in Greek, it makes the sound. So that's ang, not ag.
So then, it seems to me that what off herald means is to send the messenger off or to send a message. I know different translations translate that a bit differently, but and then between herald, I think would mean to relay the message. So we have that in not there, but we have it further down in the passage. And then there's also on herald, which I might think might mean to deliver the message.
Well, as you mentioned, herald can be both a noun, the one doing the heralding, or it could refer to a verb. Here, the verb, and so a lot of times this is translated as proclaim. We proclaim.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I think I disagree in the sense that I think it refers to sending a herald. So John saying, "We have sent him to you," and then we have sent the message to you, and the message is being relayed to you, originally from Jesus, sent by us, relayed, and delivered on to you. So that's the way that I see and I could be wrong, but I've studied this first chapter a lot. I've been working on it for a long time. And that's the way that I see the off heralding and the between heralding that comes later. And then I think it's on heraldment. It becomes a noun at that point.
Tain, zoane, so life. Tain, Ionion or Ionion, depending on your school of pronunciation. So I think you've got that as everence, Nicholas.
As far as putting it very literally into English, yeah, because it comes from something like that, which is the Greek word for ever. And then, no, this is everentia. Wait. Yeah, aeon is everence. Aeonion is everentius.
So this is translated as eternal life. So the life, the eternal, is what's going on there.
Yeah.
Aetus.
So I'll just explain what I was saying a second ago. So it goes from ever to an everence, which is aeon, or what we translate as age. The etymology of it is it's an everence, as in an occurrence of an ever. So then what this is, aeonion, is it's an adjective of the everence. So that's why it becomes this big fancy word, everentious, if you're very literal with it. But in English, it is eternal, is a perfect translation, in my opinion.
Yep. Aetus ein pros ton patera. I assume is that father? Kai ephenerothe, that's this same word from up there again. Amen. So pros is something like towards, isn't it?
Yeah, often translated as with, but toward, or very literally, you could say for toward, because pra is similar to pros. So what I do is I use for, F-O-R-E, for pra, and then I do for toward for pros.
And we've got this word here again that was up here. Eorakamen. Kai akagoamen, which we had earlier, didn't we? Nope.
Yeah, we have heard.
Oh, that was up here, right at the beginning. and this word again, which was there.
Yeah, verse 3 has a lot of repetition from verse 2, so he's really emphasizing what he's doing there. I was noticing that today. But that would be a distraction from the Greek if we got into
Apangalomon, Umen, Ina, Kai, Mice, Koinonian, which can be translated fellowship or I was going to say communion. I'm not sure it's the same thing as communion, but it's usually translated fellowship.
Yeah, it would we might think of it more as community in English, but communion works well. And you can actually, because then also the word for common, as in like when something is not sacred, it's common, is also related to this. So that's where you get the common and communion, or if you prefer, community.
Can you, Graham, how did you sound out that ninth word there in verse 3?
This one?
When you have, no.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That one?
Yes. So when you have the N sounding and the M sounding next to each other, how do you?
No, that's upsilon. There's your nu.
Oh.
So that's Ina, Kai, Umes. Well, depends who. Some people say Umis, some people say
that was my problem. Why do I always do that? Like, I can't get it in my head.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an N. Like, this pisses me off.
Like I said, I would pronounce it mice.
Man.
So I would use and then if it's an OU, I would pronounce that with an U.
Yeah.
Upsilon. Okay.
But that's because I like there to be a distinction. I don't,
So I distinguish between the long double O and the short double O. There's an O and an U. So upsilon I have as the O. So I'm mispronouncing it, saying umais. It should be umais.
Can we take Kevin to John chapter 1?
Yeah.
I want to help him learn. And what is the N letter actually called in Greek? Let me see here. Nu?
Nu, N-U.
Okay. So that first word there, Kevin, N, that is the word in. So you see how similar it is to English? And then, so my point here is that if you learn that word N, that it's in, and you see that it has a V and not a U at the end, then you can get used to that V. And just
I know, but I see the V or the U, and I don't know, for some reason my mind thinks that they both make an N. I've been doing that for a while, huh, Graham?
Yeah, and
I can't seem to.
Eventually you'll find a way to remember that.
Well, it's probably because the U, especially the way it's looks in these graphics, looks a lot like an upside down N.
Yeah.
But if you're aware that, or even if you're not aware, if you just, even if that's not where it came from, hopefully talking about it this much helps,
I'm a slow learner, I'm dumb. So it's like, it takes me a while to pick up on stuff.
Yep. And it's, I don't know if you're doing any writing of Greek, so practicing writing them out so that as you're writing it, you're saying to your brain, this is the upsilon, it makes an O sound, or Nicholas way, an and then writing the nu and reminding yourself that's the N sound. And even writing out this first verse.
So you're saying as in like put.
Yes,
as opposed to like gut. You're saying as in put.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you might be totally right on that distinction. I don't know. I just know the
Versus the longer oo sound,
which is
the
the
oh.
Uthdong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shalom, CJ.
But yeah, I
Shalom,
have
how's it
heard
going?
other people say that it's as well. It's the shortest U sound of G'day, CJ.
How's it going? Good to see you.
Any thoughts on pronunciation, CJ?
I'll only just briefly say because I just think it's funny, but the English accents, by which I mean those who speak English, not necessarily people from England, but anyways, they're super noticeable, I think, and it just always makes me laugh.
Yep. Yes, I'm sure I don't pronounce these things. If I went to Greece, I'd be sitting there going, and they'd be staring at me going, what? Or if I went back to Jesus' day, we'd have no idea. But we do our best.
It's just kind of the thing that makes me laugh about it, I guess, is the fact that, it's if you live in a country where there's a lot of, or in an area of your country, I should say, where there's a lot of foreigners, then you're probably used to people speaking with your language with an accent, right? But then when you start learning another language, you start to realize that you also have an accent to foreign speakers, and it just makes me giggle a little bit, I guess.
Yep. So I don't know, Kevin, would it be better if we, I don't know what would work for you, better if we went back to the alphabet, to the sheet that I
Yeah, that'd be good. Because,
and
like
we
I
look.
said, I still haven't memorized all the sounds for every letter. I know, like without looking or cheating, I probably know like 4 or 5 of them, like without thinking about it. But the others, I have to use a reference.
Well, that that Hain, that is also in John chapter 1. I went to First John for it, remember, because it was such had been being.
Yes.
But if we go to John chapter 1, we see that it says what did it say exactly? It's not on the screen now.
It was ho, I think was the first word, wasn't it?
I don't know. I'm just trying to get it on my screen real quick because I can do that faster than I can think about it.
Ho ein app
John.
archais.
Hain. So that which such had been being off of first. So oh wait, no, here it says in first. You were back at First John. No, I'm talking about John chapter 1 now. It
Right.
also has this Hain. So
Yep.
then it goes in first had been being the statement or the word.
Yep.
So in first, he had been being. So this is why the doctrine of his eternality has always been so clear in the church, I think, because these words, the specificity of the Greek is so undeniable. I pulled it from First John before, but it's the exact same in John chapter 1. It might even be a little more blatant in John chapter 1. In first had been being the word. It's awesome.
So I think you've got alpha and beta. Have you got gamma locked down? I know that you've got the lambda, Kevin. Do you have any trouble with gamma at all?
So I remember the Y part of gamma, but is the R? I always forget that the R is a gamma.
Oh, the capital.
Yep.
Yeah, I still struggle with that one as well. The gamma, and then there's another one. Oh, the capital lambda throws me because I don't work with capitals as much as I work with lowercase.
Yeah, there's a lot of capitals that I don't know very well.
Yep.
Or maybe just a few of them, actually. The same ones that you're naming.
Yeah. Yeah. The same
Well,
ones.
we're going to know them after this then, or we're getting to know them, so this is working.
Yeah, so particularly the ones that are different from their lowercase or ones that are different from English. So if it's the same as in English, oh, good, easy. If it's
Can I?
different than English, like that one,
Well, that's why I see. I told you it's related to an H. I'm pretty sure it like really
yes.
is related to the H. But will you make it a little narrower so it'll be bigger on the screen? I know that would help me see it better. It's like it's almost big enough, but it's pretty small.
How's
Yeah, that's
that?
way better. Thank you.
I had to take it out of my. Yes, that works better. Take it out of my tabs. No, wrong way. That way. Perfect. So yeah, what helps me is finding words with that letter, and that helps cement it in my mind.
Like gar, which is because.
Yes, and so then nomos, which means law, might help you. But if you look for words that have not only got it at the beginning, but in other places in the word as well. Here's ethnos, where we get the word ethnicity. Yeah, meaning a people group, usually related. And then gune, if I remember correctly, means woman. And anthropos, meaning human. So yeah, looking for words like that, and if you write them out, I think that helps as well.
So is psuchus a form of psuche? I take it.
Yes, meaning that one's soul, isn't it? Yes, that one's the one that's soul.
Probably because I want to say it's the other way around, and I always have the wrong
So that would
instinct
be
on them.
breath. Pneuma is spirit, and that's wind, or gust, as you translate it. And
Yeah, gust is more exact.
I should put pneuma up here.
That's why he is called the Holy Ghost. The word ghost there is literally the word gust. It's just different from back then.
There we go, pneuma. And I don't I don't make sure I pronounce the pneuma. That's very difficult to do.
It seems weird, but I think it's actually easy. Pneuma, you just do it.
Yeah, I get lazy.
I've noticed too, the more you like talk in these languages, the more you kind of just pick up stuff like that. Like the double consonant sound there is super common in Hebrew. And at first that always used to mess with me, but now it actually is just something I sort of expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like double consonant sounds. Or like double vowel sounds where the vowels like take sudden turns of direction like they do in Japanese a lot and sometimes in Greek.
Right.
That's why I'm like I want it to be kai because I like the sharp turn there, kai.
You know what's super interesting? Just really small, brief thing on that. I have somewhat of a little obsession with language. So like sometimes I like to just listen to people talk in different tongues just to see how they sound. Um, and I swear it seems to me that the Hawaiian language is like 40 to 50% vowels. Obviously, that's just like an observation. That's not something that may or may not actually be true. But it's just insane how everything is voweled for them, like Hawaii and aloha and
Yeah.
awea and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's just vowel, 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 vowel. It's so weird.
Yep, they have a lot of vowels. You're not the first person that I've heard mention that. So yeah, this is one way to get these letters embedded, and I haven't put anything with the C yet, or the Rho, or the Omega. And the other way is just this way. Run your eye down that. The other thing that I like to do is just write out all of the letters and then go back through them and see if you can remember after you've written them out what sound each one makes. That I think that helps embed it, and writing it out I think really helps.
I think
And then
also
saying it.
Namas and Lagos, and pronouncing them with O's instead of O's because they don't have omegas in them. Those two words are good references, and Lagos and Namas, and that gives you your N and your M, or I should use the actual, what is it,
Nu
Nu
and
and
Mu.
Mu, or Na and Ma. Is that more accurate?
Yeah,
Or are we
way.
not trying to pronounce those Greek?
Not and more. I don't know. Different people say different things. It's just what's gone into my head because of how I learned it, and I'm trying to change it. But yeah,
Okay, but that's neither here nor there. But point being,
Yeah.
not N and M, but rather Nu and Mu. Same
Yeah.
idea. And then you have your Omicron. Okay, that's the one I need to learn. And you also have Sigma in there. So you got the Gamma is in there too with the Logos, and that's a good
Logos.
reference to learn Gamma by, because we use Logos a lot.
Yep. Yeah. And I think highlighting the ones that are difficult and just making sure that you spend extra time with them.
Yeah, and one thing that helps to learn Mu is to understand that the lowercase m, there actually is a sense in which it looks like an M. And if you can understand that it looks like an M, then it makes it easier.
Yep. So when we did maths, that was the symbol for micro, which is 1,000th, if I remember correctly. And I'm trying to remember if we used it for other things. So some of these Greek letters I've learnt because of physics and maths and things like that. That's helped me learn them.
So there where it says mathetes, does that mean student or what?
Yeah, disciple, student. Where have I got that? Yep. Mathetes. Yep. So I've got a Facebook account called Mathetes Iesu Christou.
Oh, do you think seeing some etymologic breakdown would help, in the sense that you start to understand what you're looking at? Because like there's 3-letter roots here, and then there's suffixes at the end and stuff, and the language makes a lot more sense once you start to understand that sort of thing. So maybe I should screen share some of my etymology stuff and just show how words break down some, and that will help the future learning process, I think.
Yeah, there's lots of ways that we can look at it. Some things help some people and they don't help other people.
Well, ultimately, like, we got to learn it all eventually,
Mm.
as far as if we're learning it. Let me see. Conversion catalog simplified. This is the one that has. Okay, so I'll go ahead and screen share this. Share. Oh, which one is it? I think it must be this one. Yep. And then I'll try to do a size and shape that fits more of the screen. Like that. That'll be good. Okay. So if I go to the right here, we have the etymologies. And so I'll skip where I really broke it down, where it's somewhat speculative, and we'll get into stuff that's more solid. So here, I'll zoom in. So here we have, I think these breathing markers would mean it's pronounced Haggy, but I'm not really moved on to breathing markers yet. So to me, it's just Aggie, basically.
Yep.
But Aggie means sacred. And as far as I can tell, that's a very exact literal translation. And then here it's Agia for some reason, having to do with how the word forms. So I haven't sorted that detail out. But you have sacred, and then you have on. So to me, that sounds like it's going. Well, let me not make assumptions because there must be adjectives. Yeah, so agion and agios are those are actually essentially slightly different forms of the same word. In my opinion, they could have just had the same Strong's number, as far as I can tell. But those just mean sacred, the adjective, and then these endings are just the adjective ending, I guess, in this case. But then here we have agia for sacred, and then tes is a suffix that I translate as hood, so it means sacred hood. Or yeah, and then the next word is very similar because it's agi, which is sacred, but then the suffix at the end is osane, which roughly means ness, so sacredness. And then there's more detail because you would get into various forms. So these are like a representation of the various forms of the same word. But the point is that you see how the agi means sacred. And here is a very good example, actually a perfect example. A is the negafier. Then genea, gen is generate, and genea is generation. So the gen is the 3-letter there for generate. That's the base, but then it's expanded to generation. And then a log is statement. So that's why, like a captain's log, the captain is stating what happened that day. Or if you account for something, it's an accountant's log and it's stating what went on, you know. But and then atos is my favorite suffix at the end because it means eisable. Eis turns it into a verb. And then able, like unmovable. Move is a verb. So if you were to take a noun and turn it into a verb like we're going to do here, this word is ungeneration statement isable. Okay, so let me break that down. What is a generation statement is a genealogy. So This is to be able to take it into a genealogy or to track the genealogy thereof. So genealogyizable per se, right? But this is as in you cannot track that person's genealogy. So you may, I don't know if Kevin from the book of Hebrews, Melchizedek, whose ancestry cannot be accounted. This word is used for him. Ungeneration statementizable. So you see how the words make sense, and you can see the word you're looking for. Ank, as in ankle, because that's where our foot bends. It means bend. So this is an ankistron. Tron is that which does, which is pretty cool because it's like a robot, right? It does things. So if you were to have like a computatron, that's like a computer, basically, right? Yeah. So So this is that which does be bended. See the id and the b. That means be bend from earlier here. So be bend id. That which does be bended is an ankistron. And let's see, is that going to be a hook? Is it going to be an arm? Is it going to be an anchor? I don't remember. It's a hook. Now, an arm is an ankle. I haven't broken down all the etymology of that yet, but an arm is also named for having a bend. Or we can think of our word in English, angle. So this anchor is for the anchor. And there's some etymology to the ura part, which I'll learn someday. So this is just an example. We have ank here, we have agi here, and then here we have gen and log. Let me highlight those a little bit. Gen and log. And we see the A at the beginning. So just showing how as we learn things like log and gen, then this starts to make more sense. And even ATOS, when you get to learning those things better. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there so you kind of know what you're looking for in the language, so you'll start to see it make sense to you over time. Oh, we already lost Kevin. He was gone. You're on mute, Graham. But Kevin was gone the whole time. I was kind of he was the one I was kind of hoping to give that rundown to, in the sense of getting more of an idea of how the language works. But hopefully it was helpful to someone else.
Yeah,
or maybe he's still there. I see him inside chat. Through. Okay, I'll let you talk now. I'll stop.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what else to say at the moment. I'm fumbling around trying to learn a little bit of Greek.
Because I feel like both of you kind of knew the general gist of what I was just getting at, how the words break down, or you had some vague idea of it anyway. But hopefully that was helpful to take a closer look at some of it.
Well, I'll be honest, I listen more for, I don't want to say entertainment per se, but this is kind of the kind of stuff I like to do for entertainment a lot of times. I mean, I do, watch movies and stuff. I'm not saying I don't, but I've always just been interested in this kind of stuff. But for like actual learning, I want to get down Hebrew before I get down Greek. So I don't necessarily come in here to learn as much as everyone else per se, as much as it is like proto learning for when I eventually do learn Greek. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
that's my last name.
That's incredibly healthy, CJ, because really, like, you compared it to your entertainment, but when it comes to entertainment, like, if someone's into Star Trek, they know like a bunch of characters and stuff, maybe from a bunch of different series, and like you learn so many factoids. Like, that's the way I've learned it, is learning it like more the way I might learn entertainment or something is the way that I've learned, because otherwise I don't have the patience for it. And I just think people naturally learn very well that way. So maybe you're not trying to learn, but maybe you're going to learn all the better for it.
That's a good point, actually. A really good point.
G'day, Jamie.
This isn't my last name, by the way. This is my middle name, in case you're wondering.
Uh-huh.
The other one was my real name. Last name, I mean. Would you like to make my day?
So on that,
That sounds ominous.
I know this is all like, okay, JB, hello, how are you?
on that point of learning language by listening, so you know that you've got a language down when it's more subconscious. There's less thinking that you have to do. It just automatically happens. So sometimes that is just by being there and sort of an osmosis process occurring.
Yeah, I recommend a time machine would be easier, and then you could go back to first century and then immerse yourself in the language, and then that'd be the easiest way to go.
Well, that's what I'm using the Bible for, because it's from the 1st century, and my main concern is that I get it right in context of the Bible. So focusing on it works well for me. And I have been deliberately learning by osmosis, like the way a child learns, in order to be sort of a check and balance for people that learn this by schooling. So, yeah, I've deliberately taken that approach.
Are you saying the stuff on the screen is a language? I thought it was like a chicken that got a hold of an ink pad or something here.
Well, I wasn't saying that.
I'm just teasing. Sorry, I'm a dork. Just looks like chicken prints on there. I thought it was that the computer was having, the matrix had a glitch or something. Are those verses?
Yep.
Oh, I did retain some of that info. I'm trying to remember it. Are you guys doing that?
It's even the inspired word of God, Jamie.
That's right. I've heard that. I heard it's called Koine Greek.
Yep.
With a K.
Koine or Kine.
Or koine.
Hey, look, I know that word, auto. I was a mechanic, so I know that word.
I like when I'm doing my Greek, I like to be careful to do my as and not a's.
Mm.
So that might be harder for an Aussie.
Is that omega, the fishy?
Well, it's just I've learnt it the wrong way, and people do say koine, and so yeah.
I need to do it right. You sent me that thing; it was just cool. But the K is that's what's that letter called? Is that chi?
Well, when people say Koine Greek, I think they're Englishizing it or Americanizing it. You know what I mean? Because they're referring to the language, but they're not trying to like be someone who pronounces Greek words correctly. So in that sense, it's almost like a transliteration that's not expected to be correct. So then once you're actually learning to pronounce it the Greek way, that's kind of a whole different thing.
Yeah, and it's, there's also just the thing too, like I said earlier, we don't tend to say things properly per se as much as we tend to say, like, just as a couple quick Greek examples, like we'll say Socrates, right? When a Greek person would actually say Socrates, which is like, it's a minor difference, but it's like there's different enunciations of the vowels, exactly where you're putting the the flow of the word is different, and also you're rolling that R, right? Or in English, people often say theanustos, right? It's theanustos, right? But obviously that sounds actually more like a Greek person would say it. But notice that in both of those words, you're still actually getting the word right. Technically, you're just kind of not getting the accent right. And you can kind of think of it the same as like when we think of, like when we like to make fun of Far East people. A common way that we do it is by pronouncing their L's as R's, right? It's the same thing. they're saying the word, they're just not really saying it with an American accent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So Jamie's asking for this verse.
That's that letter that goes at the end of a word sometimes, that drops the back half and it flips it down and hangs like an S.
Uh-huh.
What letter is that again?
The sigma. This one.
Sigma. And that's the same
Yeah.
as the ending on, let's see, down at the next verse, last letter of the first word.
Yeah,
Right?
down here, that's a sigma. It's the only letter that changes form.
Yeah. And then, how do you pronounce that letter? S?
Sigma.
But like if when I'm pronouncing that first word of the 44th verse there, is that oipai, and then that's an R, that middle letter is an R. I know that.
Spiritai.
Spiritai.
Soma.
Spy.
Sukikon.
Spiritai.
Sukikon.
Spirity. Soma Sukikon.
Sukikon, that's a soul word, right?
That's soul.
So what does that say then? Spiritual body, soul?
I have no idea.
I think it's with the one that says it's like
that's body.
Natural body sown, raised a spiritual body, or something like that is often the translation. But what the natural body is, the word for the natural body there is the suke, soma, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. It's an interesting choice of English words, I would say. Seems to suggest he's saying the man that was Adam, the body like Adam's is sown, and the body given by Christ is raised. I would say, right? That's essentially the idea he's drawing on, I would say, right? It's the old man is sown, the new man is raised kind of thing.
Well, I think it has a lot more to do with identity. So the first Adam was made a living soul. And the last Adam was made a life-giving spirit. So we're born anew unto eternal life. Now, the last Adam, he can express himself, and he is life. And so his heir is life. That's why he blew on the apostles, and life. He is a life-giving gust, whereas the first Adam was a living breath. But I think ultimately the main point there is a very that we have to become literally new beings, that our life is no longer in that original breath, in that original sinful spiritual personhood, but instead we have a new personhood in Christ with his breath being our life-giving spirit unto eternal life.
Yeah. I think when he breathes on him in the upper room, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's an upper room. They walk by a guy with a pitcher of water, which is very astronomical sounding to me, it's very kind of troubling in a way to consider that. But the whole imagery there in the narrative is very weird, because doesn't he say like you walk by the man with a pitcher of water, and that's like one of the astronomical signs. Have you guys ever noticed that? It's weird.
Yeah, I've noticed that, but I've actually started to think less of that and starting to think more of what water means from a Hebrew perspective in context of cleansings and things to do with Christ.
That's something that I've kind of to kind of piggyback on what Nick is saying. Due to the nature of my recent interests, I've had to kind of deal with that sort of thing a lot, right? Where people like make these associations, and it's pretty common for people to make associations of pagan things with Hebrew things. And by people, I mean like typically like atheists and stuff like that when they're arguing against us in polemics and stuff, right? But it's like the zodiac, for example, right? People will make references to the Greco-Roman zodiac, and then try to connect, for example, the Capricorn zodiac sign and the Hebrew month of Kislev, And it's like, well, that's just not how that works, though. You're talking about two completely different cultures. You know what I mean? The Hebrews do have, you know, certain associations with the stars, but it's not the zodiac. At least it doesn't
Right,
appear
for
to be.
sure. But it could be a
Um,
common person in the zodiac that's analogous and corrupted from the Hebrew Mazzaroth or with something. I don't know.
Well, and even if that's possible, right? The point is still that, like, you still have to account for at least that much, right? Because there's a difference in culture. And that's kind of just the point, is just to say, like, we can find a lot of parallel. In fact, let me give you a pretty interesting. You can do this even with two different elements of Hebrew culture, because Hebrew culture around Moses' time didn't actually have the same view of goats as Hebrew culture around Jesus' time. And a very interesting way you can prove that is by reading Exodus 12. And the Passover lamb can actually be a Passover goat. It literally specifies it can be from the sheep or the goats, because there's not the same association with demons, right? But by the time you get to Jesus' time, 1400 years later, Hebrew society has evolved in such a way that he can use separating the sheep from the goats as analogous to separating the pure from the impure, right? And that's even in the exact same culture. So now you just amplify that by like 1,000 times if you start going cross-culturally. And I think people can drive themselves crazy by trying to find symbolism like that, and most of it's not even real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of times I don't think it is, but is what's interesting about that story is when he breathes on him in the upper room, there's obviously an association with H being like the letter H in the Hebrew and putting H in Abraham, right? And then and then he breathes on the disciples, and that's like the same word for spirit. I think there's something to that. He breathes on the disciples. The reason I think it's symbolism could be astronomical in some level there is because I think that's part of that story, because that's where he tells him to go, right? And then you pass the guy with the pitcher of water. And that's like literally the next zodiac sign, like for our time. And then he breathes on him, and it says it's in that upper room that's locked. You know, the door is locked, let's say, right? And Jesus says, like, you know, the doors, like, there's a door that closes and people knock to get in, and then he says, I never knew you, and like Matthew 25 and other places, Luke, it's all over, right? And like there's that door imagery stuff, and then also the last thing is just that also, like, I would say, like, in Psalm 19, like, it's interesting that, like, you know, by the breath of your mouth the stars were formed, and there seems to be kind of this type of, you know, and the say, like, Abraham's seed are like the stars in heaven, and angels are called seed, you know, and then we're put on the sea of glass in the book of Revelation. There's all sorts of imagery where it seems like we're being, like, there's a picture of like heavenly, I don't know. I can see why people don't like it, but it just seems really like over and over again, similar imagery you can find in the Bible that it's using as like an analogy or something. I don't know. Could be wrong.
Well, I do think that Jehovahism from before the flood is a major influence on global religions. And then also, I think what was, you know, and then after the flood, established to some extent as the only known religion by Noah and his sons until things corrupted again over time, you know. But then also, once Israel was established, I also think that they were especially prestigious and influential, and that at certain times, and especially when it comes to spiritual things. And I think we see how, you know, the development of language has followed after their course, for the most part, with the aleph bet, right, being the alphabet, or is it aleph?
And not just the basis of our alphabet, right, but the basis of like every alphabet in existence, with the exception of symbolic alphabets that aren't even technically alphabets to begin with.
That developed out of that, though, right? Like over time, over history, doesn't it?
Yeah,
The
all of
first
them did. The Turkish, the Persian, Arabic, that whole script, right? The Sanskrit script, the
Well,
I want
Cyrillic.
to believe Hebrew was the first.
Yeah,
Oh,
we have to remember to account for the Tower of Babel dispersion somehow and all of that. But what was my point that I was getting at there?
Oh, sorry.
astronomical or language?
So, were you asking if the Hebrew alphabet supplied our word for alphabet, Aleph Bet?
No, it definitely did. That's actually just yeah, and in fact, the Hebrew alphabet also is the basis for every alphabet in existence. There's actually only one alphabet, and it's variations of what we would call today the Paleo Hebrew or Phoenician.
Yeah, it seems to have been invented perhaps in Joseph's era.
Yeah.
And it's adapted. They took characters that were used in Egyptian language of the time, and then they made an alphabet out of them. And yeah, and that's the beginning of the alphabet itself.
Yeah, and it's funny too is they even still share a similar pattern to this day. Aleph A, Gimel is what we tend to have, or excuse me, Aleph and then Bet, which is B. So those first two are correct, and then Gimel for some reason is where the C is. Now I tend to believe that's because the C is somewhat of a redundant letter. If you think about it, both of its sounds can be made using other letters, namely the K and the S. So I'm not sure how C actually got into the language, but nonetheless. Then
But
after
I
that,
remember.
Dalet and D.
Yeah, and it goes on and on. I appreciate what CJ is saying. It goes basically across the entire alphabet to one extent or another, with more similarity or a bit more of morphing over time. But my point was that, yeah, Israel, I think, was really influential, and pagans, they traded, compared to Israel, which at least had some kind of scriptural foundation to stick with Jehovah, even though they veered from that. The pagans swapped deities and stuff like that, like trading cards and ways of thinking of deities, so that you would have like a Roman and a Greek and a Persian version of the same deity, that kind of thing, exchanging their ideas and stuff. And so I think Israel was hugely influential in all of that, while there were times when they were not influenced by it, even though at sometimes they were corrupted. And so the way that secular history presents the past to us and the way culture evolved really paints Israel very differently than what I think reality is. And in reality, I think they were hugely influential on the whole Mediterranean region, as well as other regions, but I mentioned the Mediterranean region because of our Greco-Roman focus.
Yeah, and I want to actually back you up on that a little bit because maybe you have potentially heard, maybe not, of an argument against Moses's historicity, where people will say that Sargon of Akkad is said to also be put in a wicker basket into the river and then found by a bunch of stalks of reeds, right? And we know Sargon of Akkad existed, and we know that if the Bible can be 100% trusted, he can still said to have existed at least 600 years before Moses did. And so people get really bothered by that. But the source of Sargon being found in a river in a reed basket, found in the reeds of the Euphrates, comes from during the time of the exile, right? So is it likely that this is actual history that just happens to have its first source recorded 1400 years after Sargon died? Or is it more likely that Moses' story was so influential that by the time the Jews were actually in the area of Iraq, right, where Sargon would have ruled, the descendants of Sargon, 1400 years later, of course, started to take up certain elements of Moses' story, right? And it seems like Moses is actually being copied. I'll give you another really good example of that too.
Well, wait. Before you give another example, I want to jump with you on that one because
yes, sure.
let's remember after was it the golden calf incident, or maybe it was when the spies came back and were cowards except for Caleb and Joshua. I think it was that. And God told Moses, like, I am going to get rid of all those people, and I'm going to make a great nation out of you personally, in the singular. And Moses is like, but Lord, if you do that, then Egypt is going to say that, like, you failed to deliver the people like you said you would, and it won't be good for your glory. So for your glory's sake, you should actually save these people. And then God repents and is going to save the people because of Moses's argument that it's better for God's glory if he saves them.
Preposterous.
It is written.
Tis, and it's beautiful too if you just actually take it for what it is, right? But I want to really quickly say, because there's another really fun example of this, and that is, you may have heard the lie, and it is a lie, that Zoroastrianism was a major influence on the Book of Daniel. Now, if you study Zoroastrianism at all, it is pretty uncanny, to be sure. There's the good, omnipotent creator God, and there is a very powerful evil, you could call him an evil deity in Zoroastrianism, but obviously that's not what Lucifer would be in Christianity or in the ancient Hebrew religion. And you have the idea of prophets, and it's monotheistic, and there's ideas of heaven and hell and all this other kind of stuff. And people often say that that is the major influence on the Book of Daniel because of some of the other similarities and what I've already mentioned. Well, they tend to argue that Zoroastrianism comes from around 1000 BC in order to do this. The problem is the Zoroastrians actually tell us when Zoroaster got his first revelation. And it's 258 years before 330 BC, or 258 years before Alexander the Great conquered Persia, which puts them in 588 BC, which means Zoroaster in Iran received a revelation that happened to parallel Daniel in 588 BC. Can any of you guys guess where I might possibly be going with this?
Well, I think if we go by our biblical timeline, Daniel is perhaps earlier than that. I should know it better, but I get confused because of the secular timelines and stuff. I haven't carefully parsed it all out yet.
That is a ding, 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 though, because according to our Bibles, Daniel would have been established as Belshazzar, excuse me, meaning the head of all the wise men and magicians in Babylon. I mean, that is a very important position, right? In 603 BC, 15 years before Zoroaster, right next door, received a revelation that happens to be exactly what Daniel was teaching. And by the way, I didn't do any polemics against the Zoroastrians. Zoroastrians just now. I literally took their word for it.
That's like the Mormons, how they copied Islam.
Yeah,
It's more connected.
It's just funny because people would have expected me to say how they copied Christianity, but referring to the angel that gives revelation and all that sort of nonsense about it. But really, Joseph Smith was mocking both of them.
It's the same angel, isn't it?
Well, there's a mention of an angel with a sword from the Bible, and so I think in Joseph Smith's case, I don't think he actually had demonic experiences. Maybe he did, I don't know. But it seems like Joseph Smith was just a simple con man.
I tend to agree. I think that Muhammad was probably severely mentally ill, but I think Joseph Smith was just a crook.
Yeah, man, Muhammad may have established some major demonic thing and was really used by demons or something with what's going on between Christianity and Islam in the world.
Look at
But
all
you
the
know, hopefully the Middle Eastern world will be very ripe for harvest as these decades pan out.
Amen.
How are you, CJ?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. It's gone quiet.
I hope you're well, Bob.
Yeah, I am. Yes, Jamie. I'm still me. Yeah. I hope you're all well. Yeah, Graham, are you all right? Yeah.
His headset's on mute. I think I saw him responding.
Oh, it is
Oh,
too.
right,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
I'm okay.
Look, I'm not going to try and start a dumpster fire. That's not my habit.
Speaking of which, Jamie did get us pretty distracted, and I think I get what he's jiving at. And I appreciate, Jamie, that you like went through the Greek to get there, and we were applying the Greek. But it seemed like it was kind of a trick to get there to some extent, also, because then the Greek went totally by the wayside. But to be fair, CJ and I got into discussing a lot of interesting things.
Can I just ask a question, Nicholas? If it's okay.
Yeah.
It is relevant. Which Greek text are you using? Are you using the one that underlies the King James? I'm assuming that you are.
Yeah, that's what I use. Graham is the one whose text is on the screen right now, so you'd have to double check with him. But
All
I
right.
think he
It says
That's
TR.
TR. Yep.
New Testament TR there. Can you pull it up with the Greek and the English? Is that be comparison or
Not TR, I don't think. Oh, so if I pull it up with Greek and English, it does pull up the variants as well, but it
How do I
tells
get
you
both, right?
it tells you what is TR and what isn't.
I'm thinking of that one where it shows the verse like with the in like a verse form or whatever if you can, but
Nah, I don't have that.
oh,
Can I? Are you going through texts of scripture that seem to be contentious? An obvious one would be like the Catholics like to use this one, Petros, Petra, and all that. Is that what you're doing, or just general teaching Greek, or just?
I called this one.
Yeah, so the primary purpose, from my point of view, is trying to learn Greek. So learning the letters, the sounds, the words. We're not studying. I'm not quite at the point where I can read Greek. But yes, I am aware of the Greek in that passage, that the word that's translated Peter is Petros, and the word that's translated rock is Petra, and those have two different meanings.
Yeah.
And it completely destroys the Catholic teaching that Peter is the rock.
Yeah.
The word that's translated Peter is not the rock that you can build a building on. It's a stone.
Yeah.
It's a small rock, a pebble.
Did you consider where he's standing when he said it?
Where who is standing?
Jesus.
Jesus? No.
Oh yeah, it's the theory about the rock that would be the gates of hell because of its pagan significance.
It literally is the gates of like Pan or whatever that where they are. Like it's at that time, like it's the gates of Hades basically are literally there. Like, and it's a rocky outcropping.
Well, Pan would be like the everything pagan god. I would take it because his name is Pan, and so that would make sense for an overarching devil. But I don't know.
Pan can mean all as well. Have you ever heard the expression pandemonium?
Yeah.
It was pandemonium at the party, this, that, and the other. Really, what they're saying, without realizing it, it was all demonic.
all doom breaking loose kind of a thing. Pan, doom, all doom, monium. Or maybe the dom is more related to demon than doom in this case, but those might be related. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, yeah. I can read Greek, Graham, but I've forgotten what a lot of the words mean now. I haven't studied it in over 20 years, so
Yep.
I could kick myself in the pants for not keeping up my Greek and Hebrew, but there you go. How are you, Nicholas? Yeah. You keep going quiet. Everything went quiet when I turned up. What's wrong?
Well, I just went quiet because if I'm on a roll, you know,
oh yeah, I know
like we had gotten distracted, so I think we all got quiet to let Graham get it back on Greek if he wanted.
Yeah.
And to give
and
you
also
room to
I'm
talk since you
distracted.
just came in.
Kago desoi lego hoti su e Petros. So there's Peter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ki epi taute te Petra, and that's rock. So my understanding is that Petros means a pebble, and Petra means literally a cliff face, is what they would refer to as a Petra, but it also means a foundational rock, like a large rock that you could build a building on, whereas Petros did not mean a rock large enough to build a building on. A small stone, a stone that you could pick up, is the range of meaning for Petros, from a pebble up to medium-sized stone, I suppose you'd call it. So that's one thing that destroys the Catholics' claim that Peter is the rock on which the church is built. Another one would be earlier in Matthew 7. Jesus says that the wise man hears Jesus' words and does them. That's the rock. And there's also 1 Corinthians 3 verse 11. There is no other foundation laid than that is laid, which is Christ Jesus. So it's clear from Scripture that Jesus is the rock.
Can I make a point, Graham?
Yep.
I'm not trying to sidewind you or whatever. Now, that rock that was cast at the feet of the image in Daniel 2, and normally I wouldn't go to Septuagint, I do have one. Is that the same Greek word? I wonder.
Oh, I'd be interested.
Graham, share my screen, and I'll show you a picture of where he was standing.
What's the name of the place, Jamie?
Well, the coasts of Caesarea Philippi is what the King James says.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I guess that's the place today. And that
Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi.
Is that some sort of tomb there or a grotto? You can see that.
That's the gates of hell.
Oh, is it?
So that's one intro. I could play the part of this where he talks about it, but it's pretty convincing if you ask me. But because it's kind of hard to deny. I mean, it can have double meaning, obviously, or whatever too. But it's like if he's literally standing on this rock where there's a faint place where like Baal's and the god of the underworld, the gates to the god of the underworld, or where like a tomb.
Yeah,
like
it's just I don't know that the Bible specifies that he's standing in that spot. That seems like connecting the dots, which sometimes is right and sometimes is not.
Right.
Yeah. It's in the general area of.
I think this is a tradition too. Like people visit this, presuming that was the case, but I don't know. Yeah,
got to be careful about tradition, Jamie. Yeah. So the word in Daniel, Graham.
I'm looking it up right now in the background.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
There's the map that he plays it, and he circles it. I think there's Caesarea Philippi, and he talks about the connection with the
word does
pagan gods or whatever.
So it's not Petros or Petra, as far as I can tell.
What's that?
The rock that Bob
Oh.
is asking about
Do you want to watch part of this or no?
in Daniel.
Yeah. I don't know if it says rock in the English. It might say, I think it's a mountain, isn't it? It became a great mountain or something. Really, I should have checked.
It's a stone that comes down from the sky and becomes a great mountain.
Yeah.
It says stone in the King James. I found it. And
the rock
then,
is Christ, right?
let me see what verse number it is. 34. So
Yeah, Daniel 2:34. Yeah.
oh, but it's giving me the Hebrew. I meant to pull up the Septuagint. Maybe I can change it in a moment here.
Yeah.
So
I'm not 100% keen on the
But-
Septuagint, to be honest with you, Nicholas.
yeah, but if you wanted to compare Greek to Greek was the reason you were asking about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Give me a moment. I'll just type in 34, and if it gives me just one verse, I'll just do it this way.
Oh,
Lithos, by the look of it.
Lithos. Stone, yeah. Lithos, yeah.
It's
Is it the same words as is it in Job 14 as well?
Is it a synonym?
19.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So this word can mean millstone or stumbling stone,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's relevant, isn't
which
it?
Jesus is referred to
Yeah.
as.
When Job says, "Oh, that my words would be written with a steel pen on a rock or something," I wonder if it's the same word. I can look it up.
Okay, yeah. So lithos, a stone. So then that's interesting because I would need to compare it then to ether.
Do you have a cross reference so you can see if Job 19 comes up with it?
Oh, let's see where lithos is used in the New Testament.
What was an Old Testament word, right?
Well, we were looking at Greek to compare Greek to Greek.
Oh, I thought he was talking about the rock in Daniel or whatever. Sorry.
Yeah, but we were looking at the Greek
Yeah.
translation to compare Greek to Greek to make some comparisons.
Yeah.
In Daniel, it's
But I don't know how to use the website quite well enough for it to work easily for me on this point. Oh, wait, okay, if I just do this, it'll fix it for me.
Oh, you've got a bot in the side chat there.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you
Yo-ho.
said Septuagint, didn't you?
So you guys are talking about Pan's Temple. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
who Trey Smith is from God in a Nutshell.
Oh, yeah, I know,
But-
Trey.
Yeah, he does a
He's on the sort of, I would say, cutting edge stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He gets you thinking, doesn't he, Alec?
yeah. Well, he's on the anti Michael Heiser side. He actually takes the Babylonian writings and he believes obviously the word of God is first, and that the copycat is the Babylonian writings. For all the paganism.
Yeah.
So he actually does a film on this. It's the Cave of Pan. So they used to have their pagan rituals there. There's a rock he says is covered with bat dung, which he shows the picture of everything because he visits this place.
Yeah.
And he shows it, but there's still blood stains from all the human sacrifice and things that are done in there, rituals and whatnot. So that was what they call the gates of hell, I guess. It's not technically like a thing you walk through walls and you're in hell or anything like that. It's basically where the pagans would do their worship for demonic uprising.
Hell isn't down yonder. And by
Can
the
I
way,
trouble you to put a link
Trey
there,
Smith
lad?
has promoted a false prophet in our time. So just so you know,
Who?
Trey Smith. Is that what you're talking
Has
about?
promoted a false prophet? What did he ever prophesy?
Yeah. What's his name? That guy who played the piano that died. He was saying like he predicted Trump's thing. Is that the guy you're talking about?
Well, I got to tell you, he did actually predict that. But whether it was a prophecy or not, I really don't give a crap about Trump. What I'm talking about is scripture here. I mean, you're trying to tell me that a guy 2 years previous to Trump ever running actually says to the name and the date is what's going on. Who's going to be the president?
Well, yeah, because Trump had been talking about running for president for over a decade, and
It doesn't matter. He picked the dates, bro. I mean,
okay, good.
I wanted Trump. I wanted Trump to run. I wanted Trump to run against Papa Bush way back in the day, but it didn't happen. I wanted him to run against Baby Bush. It didn't happen. I wanted to run against Barack Obama. It didn't happen. I wasn't a prophet, am I?
The guy who he's promoting as a prophet made false prophecies.
Actually, they came true, so he wasn't false. He's also had other prophecies that have come true. I'm not saying that. But he never prophesied in himself. He never prophesied in himself. He said the word of God. Exactly. Yeah, that's Jamie. But anyway, yeah. So Trey Smith actually goes to these places. He films them. He has several books. His testimony is pretty cool. But the thing is, he crashed his car into the faith healer's place and stole his safe and all that stuff. It actually exposed the whole, ruined that guy's that guy's church, which was good. He spent time in prison, just like Dan Wood did, and several other people. Paul spent a lot of time in prison.
I need to go take a break, I think.
Okay, but anyway, on the thing of Pan, it's not the gates of hell. That's just what they're calling it. The gates of hell, apparently, where the demons are going to rise in Revelation, is somewhere in the Euphrates. They're being held somewhere like that. If you want to get into those weeds.
Does someone else want to start a stream? You can keep going somewhere else if you want.
Sorry. I just thought I'd enter into where I was trying to cut Jamie off for you, Graham.
Well, what do you think you're cutting me off on? I think you're talking about the same thing I was.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, but it's not the gates of hell. Just let you know.
See yous, guys. Bye.